So, Mike, first of all, let's start off with you. Why don't you introduce yourself? Like, who are you? What's your background? Sort of, how did you come to work with us?
I'm a pharmacist by profession, so you'd think I'd be able to sort of look after myself.
Wow. And do you remember when we first met?
Yes,
Do you remember how unprofessional I looked?
I've really struggled with weight and fitness over the years.
I'm glad you brought it up, Mother. So, for people at home that don't know what we're doing, so we are holding a client-only event on literally the 6th of April.
You were loud. You were quite challenging at stages.
While you could sit there and argue, oh, well, it doesn't help you towards your goal physically, mentally, you could argue it did wonders for you.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Lean Life podcast, featuring special guests. We've got Nick today, co-hosting,
Hello.
and we've got a very special guest, who's one of our clients, Mike.
Hi.
So, Mike, first of all, let's start off with you. Why don't you introduce yourself? Like, who are you? What's your background? Sort of, how did you come to work with us?
Okay, so let's go back a bit. So I'm a pharmacist by profession, so you'd think I'd be able to sort of look after myself, but that's proven to be something not that I've really struggled with weight and fitness over the years. So I retired about 4 years ago. And that was probably just before COVID. I ended up putting on a load of weight, probably like a lot of other people did. And I think sort of towards the end of the second COVID, I decided, right, I needed to do something. So I joined Nuffield and went to the gym there. And that's where I met you, purely by accident, because I was looking for someone to be a PT, and we were introduced.
Yes, yeah.
So that's how we met. So roll forwards a year. I know you then left Nuffield. I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different, so particularly around diet. So hence the reason I decided to stay with Nuffield as a gym, but to come to you as a PT.
Wow. And do you remember when we first met?
Yes.
Do you remember how unprofessional I looked?
I didn't, to be honest, I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't think you did.
Really?
If I'm really honest, you were loud. You were quite challenging at stages because, I suppose at the time I was 54, 55, and I think I felt as though you treated me like a 24, 25-year-old. And I meant that in the sense that you probably pushed me more than I thought my body was capable of doing, and sometimes that really felt really uncomfortable.
Of course, yeah.
But I suppose you look back at it and you think, actually, sometimes you just got to be cruel to be kind, don't you?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not cruel, but I think there is definitely something about how much your body can cope with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we very first met, I was literally eating chicken and rice on the reception side, and you came in and the reception said, "Oh, Clayton's here," and I was like mid mouthful. It's like this doesn't look great, does it?
See, I don't remember that at all.
Do you not?
No. I just remember when you took me round and you said, right, okay, what is it you want to do? That's all I remember. But I think I was so fixated about wanting to understand how does equipment work?
Yeah.
What can I do? That you probably block everything else out. And that is actually all I remember.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Crazy. You remember those times, don't you, Nick? Of like,
Yeah, there'd be. I mean, they do a fantastic job, but it was always just like you'd have a program coming in and you quickly like make a coffee or you'd be finishing your lunch and they'd almost throw you in it. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's just over there," and you'd be there just like with a coffee and like food in your mouth, rather than just be, "Oh, he's out back," or something. Yeah, good times.
I don't think it's any different now because it is really busy in the gym there because they've closed one down, the one down in the centre of town. They've invested a lot of money into it. So as a gym itself, it's a great place to go to.
Yeah.
But you do think, actually, you see, because you just see people sitting around tables, don't you? Just building up the programme that they want to have, etc. But you know what? It made a big difference in my life, and it has been a big part of my life, certainly for the last sort of 3 years. And I can't imagine what I would do if I wasn't going to the gym.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, actually, more doing the walking, if I'm really honest.
Of course.
That's where I get my headspace.
When you say a headspace, well, what do you mean by it, Mike?
So I think probably more than anything, I've had a couple of injuries, or more than a couple of injuries over the last 2 to 3 years. And actually, the thing that's really struck me is how much I miss walking. So I pretty much all of last year walked 10,000 steps every single day. didn't really miss a day at all until I did my shoulder in the 8th of December.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I got really frustrated because I
unlucky.
couldn't actually do a whole year of doing it. But I actually think what you discover is it's when you tune out. It's my own time. Whether whether the JM or the kids aren't there or they're in the house. They're still there, aren't they? But when you're out on the walk, it's you. You're on your own. You're with your own thoughts. You're doing what you want to do, and actually, I miss walking when I don't do it. I never thought I'd ever say that. But actually, when I don't walk, mentally, I don't feel the same. That probably sounds absolutely bonkers. But even this morning, so Purvy's away. So Purvy's my wife. And I thought, 9:30. Do I really want to do a walk before I come and do the podcast? Anyway, I did.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel the better for it. And I know that's the same whatever happens. So I always hate those winter months, though. When
It's wet.
I think it's the January, isn't it? I mean, you can, Christmas is fine. You've got something to look forward to. But you go into January and you move into February and it's raining.
Yeah.
And it's raining. And you're looking at the forecast and you're thinking, can I fit something in? And it's like, can I just about dodge the showers? It's not great, is it? But you get to now, and it doesn't matter so much because it's getting that bit warmer, etc. But anyway, I miss the walking when I don't do it. That's mentally, I miss it.
Yeah. And do you find like with all the habits of like the walking and the drinking water, when the walking was taken away from you, did you feel almost like a little bit lost?
Yes, absolutely. I think it gives you, when I come back from walking, you feel there is definitely a high that goes with it. And I feel I've got more energy. So when I go into the rest of the day, I'm more productive.
Yeah.
Because if you just get up and you sit on the sofa and you look at your phone and you keep thinking about it, and if I don't do the walk, then I'll think about, well, why didn't I do the walk? Which becomes a self-defeating prophecy, doesn't it? It's like, So I do miss the walks. That is the reality, but I love the feeling of doing them. And physically, you know what? I actually feel probably as well as I've been in the last sort of 20 years.
Which is amazing. And so let's go into your injury as well, Mike. So talk us through the injury.
Well, the recent one.
Yeah.
So I took a break, for about 3 months last year when I got married, and we had family coming over from India so that they could stay with us.
Yeah.
Came back to work with you in October.
Yes. Yep.
Went to the gym. Did an exercise. Didn't feel great. Didn't think anything more of it. And then over the next 2 months, it just felt really awkward. Anyway, move forward to 2 months, and then I went and did another exercise at the gym. But all I was doing was just getting some things and just pulled some weights like that. Anyway, it felt really awkward. Anyway, went home. Again, thought nothing of it. Woke up the following morning, went for my walk, got about halfway through my walk and thought I couldn't carry my arm. I'd pulled my rotor cuff muscle. And for anyone who's ever had a rotor cuff injury, it's almost debilitating. I couldn't turn my head. I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sleep lying down. So, I suppose for effectively 8 weeks, I sat on a sofa, vertical, with a blanket on me, because that's the only way that I could feel that was comfortable. It was awful, if I'm really honest.
That's horrendous. That is horrendous.
So that, I think, that's the worst I've ever had. And if I ever look at a footballer, when you watch these footballers and they seem to barge into each other and all of a sudden they're writhing on the ground and they're like, I've got a shoulder injury. I used to think, get up and get on with it.
Yeah.
I don't think that anymore. It can be, it was awful. So, and I have to say thank you to you. I'm saying that when I'm on the podcast.
Yeah.
But genuinely, I think you've been really supportive trying to help me to get through this, because it has, mentally as well as physically, it's actually been a bit of a battle to get through the last sort of 3-4 months.
it's hard when you've got an injury. You have to. It can feel like your whole world's come tumbling down, can't it?
I think it's the structure, because I was so used to, I'd go to the gym 3 times a week. I'd go for a walk every day, and all of that just suddenly disappeared. I couldn't do it. And it felt like, well, I felt for ages I was just floundering around doing nothing, and getting really frustrated because I wanted to do something but knew that my body couldn't cope with it. And then you sort of eat, don't you? So then you get the comfort eating that goes with it, which then you think, oh, well, why did I do that? Because I didn't actually need to do it, but you do it.
Yeah.
And I suppose it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was the most frustrating time, because you kept saying, wait,
Yes.
wait,
Yeah. Let it heal.
and wait.
Yeah.
And I know it's true, because I had an injury to my ankle, about a year before that. And it was true, because actually if you push it too hard, all you do is you just damage it again, don't you?
Yeah. Absolutely. And also, the same with like my ankle. I have had many injuries. Like and I've not let it heal properly to the point where it's now a big balloon in my ankle and I need an operation. Anyway, if you don't, I can speak from experience. If you don't let these things heal, you'll think they've healed and you'll try and do stuff, and it's a bit uncomfortable. But you can live with it, so you'll keep going. And then where it hasn't healed, you'll just do more damage to it. But the damage is so deep hidden, you don't really realize it until like 5-10 years down the line, when your ankle or your shoulder is like a ball. So, especially when I first met you, remember I'd met you on the Thursday. I ran the Spartan trifecta at the weekend, and then on the Monday, you were like, "You okay?" And I was hobbling. I was like, might have broken my ankle.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can speak from experience. If you don't rest, and that's why I was saying wait, because you've just got to be. You're better off to be overcautious than undercautious and really damage it.
Oh, it's true. I mean, if I look back now, I think I'd done something to my shoulder probably, April, May last year, because I couldn't lie on it properly.
Ah, okay.
But when something's just sitting there, just niggles, and you're not quite sure, you think, it's not right, but you don't think you've actually done anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's that bit of, it's a really odd thing to do. And I think now that it's healed, actually I really can tell the difference. I can lie on it, which I couldn't do. I can do things, I can move it the way that it's a lot more freedom of movement, even swimming. So, even doing front crawl, a butterfly, I couldn't do that. But I didn't realise. I just thought it was just, I'm getting older and therefore I've got less movement.
Okay.
But in reality, I think looking back now, there was some injury there, but I just didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to deal with it, if that makes any sense. And
I guess, I mean, the age thing as well, it's easy to say because you hear it so much, don't you? Like, as you get older, things slow down. They do, and like movement does suffer, but not to the point where it's hard, isn't it? It's like, does it suffer to the point where you can't do things like you used to be, or is there a point where you can still do what you should be able to do? And it's easy, isn't it, when you're injured to go, oh, it's just age. But actually, unless you're aware of it, it's so easy because no one will argue with you over it.
I think the thing I've learned is, one, your body takes longer to heal. So if I'd done this injury, 20 years ago, I think it would have probably healed in half the time.
Yeah, of course.
But I also realised that there's probably lots of things I can do that I didn't think I could do.
Okay.
So I don't think it's necessarily about not doing things anymore. It's about maybe not pushing the weights. And we've had this discussion around, okay, you can pull a sled that's like 300 kilos.
Yeah.
And I know I can pull a sled that's 300 kilos. But actually, why?
Yeah.
Do I really need to do that? That's an ego thing, isn't it? It's about, okay, I see other people in the gym and they're, I can pull something that's heavier than you. Woohoo. But in reality, it's not what my body needs. No. And I think that's the bit that has been that's probably been the biggest thing I've realised over the last 4 months.
Yeah.
I need to do something that's more tuned into what my body's capable of doing. Hence the reason for the Tough Mudder. It's almost it's a challenge, but I'm not doing it on my own. I'm going to do it with people who I trust. So if I get stuck, people can help me. But equally, it's something that's going to be challenging. And I like that challenge. There's no point in going through life if there's no challenges, are there?
No, exactly. I'm glad you brought it up, Mother. So for people at home that don't know what we're doing, so we are holding a client-only event on literally the 6th of April, which is only 2.5 weeks away.
God, yes.
How exciting is that? And so we've got 12 of our clients coming. No, 10 clients plus 2 of us, so 10 of us. Yes, 10 of us. So Mike's referring to the client event at the Tough Mudder, which is gonna be really cool. But Mike, how do you both feel about Tough Mudder?
So, I suppose having had what's happened, I was probably really nervous because before I'd signed up to do the Tough Mudder ages ago. Then I've had the injury. Didn't think I was going to recover enough time to be able to do it. So I think we probably made the decision. What, 3
weeks ago in our gym session, yeah.
That go for it.
Yeah.
So nervous, yes. Seeing what I'm going to be faced with. I suppose I hadn't necessarily looked at the detail of what it was and thought, anyway, I think I can do it. In fact, I know I can do it. I just need to pace myself. Yeah. Really looking forward to it. It's something I've always fancied doing. My wife thinks I'm absolutely nuts. But I think it's just important. I think it's really, really important to give you something to aim for. And I think it's how I'm going to feel after it when I've done it. I know it'll be an amazing feeling, but there is definitely a nervousness before going into it, thinking, how am I going to do this?
And is it more nervous because you're not sure your body's going to take it, or is it more nervous of like the unknown because it's a bit like the unknown?
I think it was the unknown, but now I've looked at the website, I think I know what I'm going to be walking into. I think it's more, will my body cope with it? I think it can, but we'll find out in 2.5 weeks.
And it comes down to, and you're one of the most resilient people I know, because many, many other people in your situation would have got the injury that you got and gone and just totally retreated into a shell, buried their head in the sand, locked themselves away, and we would never have heard from them again. But you've not done that. You've worked with us to get past it. You've kept every step of the way, but you've accepted what it is, and it is what it is, and you've always looked on it positively, rather than being like. And I know you said you got frustrated, but other people would get frustrated and just do anything that they want, and we'd never hear from them again. But you've stayed positive where you can. You focus on one small target at a time, and you've then built them back up to get to a point where now you're thinking, I can actually do these things that I thought 3 months ago I wouldn't be able to do till next year.
Yeah, I think I'm quite a driven person. I don't like to sit around and do nothing. And I suppose all the way through my life, there's always been the stages to things. So I always, and I don't sort of, yes, I've got something. So I think I said this to you. So let's explain it. Yeah. My granddad lived till he was 92. My mum had this thing about, I want to live longer than my dad.
Yes. Okay.
Well, actually, I want to live longer than my mum. So I want to live to 92.
Nice.
So, okay. So if you're going to live to 92, I want to live it in a way that actually I'm going to be active.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no point in just sitting in a chair and sitting in a care home. Not there's anything wrong with that, but no. I want to be quite active.
Yeah.
That means I need to look after myself. And I suppose that is probably the one thing that sits behind everything. I want my wife's quite a bit younger than I am. So if I want to be able to enjoy life with her when she's stopped working, then I've really got to look after myself. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's driving everything right here, right now. But I also know I can't do everything all in one go. I think that's... Sometimes in your life you think you can balance everything. And I don't think I've always done a great job of that, through the years. But now I think I've got a really good balance.
It's hard, isn't it, to find balance in life, especially with the stress of life. Everything it can quite easily kind of like crush you. And if you don't organise yourself or prioritise certain things, it can all kind of jumble into this horrible ball of just chaos until eventually something pops in, it all just comes raveling out.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think I've got good balance. I think when I stopped working, I was fortunate in a way. I was offered a redundancy package. So did I expect to retire at 55? No, it happened just before COVID. So I suppose in reality, it was an ideal opportunity that I didn't.
Yeah.
I just decided not to work. And I'm fortunate I've got enough money to allow me to do that.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm busier now than I ever was when I was working. That's the truth of it. But I'm doing the things that I want to do. So I have a choice about what I do to be able to live my life. And I feel extremely fortunate to be in that position.
Yeah.
Not many people get that chance. It's just I happen to decide that a big part of my life is around fitness and about the people that I get to know through the club and etc. and through yourselves. And that's a great feeling to have.
Yeah. And Mike, I'm noticing you're wearing a hoodie as well.
Yes.
How do you get one of those hoodies? For people that don't know.
Oh, right. So, this is an advertising slot. I can tell. So look, I got this for being a year with you on the app, which I have.
Yeah.
I'm actually really proud of it. I can actually say they are extremely comfortable. So they are definitely something that I would want to have.
Yeah.
But so it was a really nice gesture of you to give that to those people that have.
You earned it.
Have done it. Yeah, I probably have actually.
But also, like when we go back to like you saying Tough Mud as well, you're saying you think you're ready for it now.
Yes.
I know you'll get through it because you're very resilient. Because of how you've coped with your injury, I know that no matter what life throws at you, you're not going to let it defeat you. You're gonna push past it as much as you can.
True.
But even me, when I had my injury, if it was as bad as your one, I probably would have dropped off, to be honest with you. Without my own coach, I would have gone, no, life's been... And when I was at the gym that I worked at, I let it really affect me when I was injured. As you would tell when we worked together, I retreated from everything. I didn't go out for a nights out. I basically did the bare minimum I could when I was working, hence why I would sit down when I was training you, because I was in agony. Because if I stopped, I wasn't going to get paid. I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. So if I didn't work, my life was pretty much over. But because of that, I've now made my ankle so bad that I can't do certain things. I have to have an operation in a couple of years. Really bad.
You just need to have the operation,
Yeah,
don't you,
really?
really?
But also, like, the toll an injury can take on your mental health as well.
Yes.
Like, talk me through your mental health during this latest injury.
Okay, so I think when you can't sleep, you get extremely tired. And I think when you get extremely tired, so some nights, I know I was probably getting less than an hour's sleep a night. So, when you sort of... You see the clock go past 1 o'clock and then 2 o'clock. I'm sure you probably must do nod off in the midst of it, but you don't feel as though you do. And your watch is telling you, because the sleep app tells you, well, you had 30 hours of decent sleep last night. Yeah. And so it's telling you already that you didn't really have a good night's sleep and you're not being very well behaved.
Yeah.
So that's a great start to the morning when you look at it. Then I think there's the bit of, well, I can't do what I want to do. So if you're not careful, you can get yourself into a really difficult headspace. That said, I suppose life goes on, doesn't it? So however difficult it may be, Christmas is going to come along. You've got to do the things. You've got to do the things to keep the house going. So I suppose from my point of view, I tend to be, sometimes people talk about a cup, and if it's filled halfway, your cup can either be a half full or it can be half empty.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm a cup half full person. I'm generally, I will see the positive side of any situation, and I don't know whether that's just how I was brought up by my parents, or whether that's just how through work I've been. Sometimes work trains you, doesn't it? It trains you in a way. As a pharmacist, I always used to think about, I used to go into work because I wanted to make people feel good.
Oh, okay.
That's what got me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, actually two things. One was to make people feel better, because that's what my job was.
Yeah.
The second part of it was, actually, if you're going to go in and the people you work with, you want them to be better.
Yeah.
So whether it would be dispensers or pharmacy assistants, you'd want them to come to work, and you'd want them to go home with a little bit more knowledge and to be better than they were when they came in. And that's sort of probably been my philosophy in life.
I mean, it's great, isn't it? It's like you say, with the glass half full, glass half empty. There are, it's hard, isn't it? Because you'd like to be in the middle somewhere, but if you can be optimistic and positive about life, you're always gonna better yourself in no matter what you do, fitness, job, industry, whatever you want to do, like family life as well. But
True.
why are there so many people that are like a glass half empty? Why do we think that is?
I think some of it is just how you are. I think some of it is about how you see the world. But if you see the world in that way, it doesn't mean you have to see the world in that way all the time.
No.
I mean, there's loads of courses I've been on through my life.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate through Boots, who I worked for, that they put a lot of time invested in your training about leadership, etc. So you can train yourself to think in a different way if you want to, but you've got to put the effort in. It's like an exercise. Your body's not going to get better or fitter without doing training.
Yeah.
It's the same with your mind. If you want to have a positive mindset, you've got to do things that are going to help you to get there.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy. Depends what you're faced with, and equally it depends who you've got around you, haven't you? You know, whether it's, you know, I love looking forward to my wife coming home, because when you're on your own, you can sort of just empty the day, put the day to bed, whether it's me talking about what I've done or Purvy talking about what she's done. Actually, you do need to have an outlet, don't you?
You do. You need a support network.
Definitely. I mean, I find that, so on my walks, I know going back to the walks, but it's really interesting who you meet. So I do the same route every day. So 365 days a year, I'll broadly do the same route. And everyone might say, so why do you do that? It must be the most boring thing in the world. But actually in reality it isn't. So when I first started doing it, for the first 3 months, you just see people and you nod as you go past. After the 3 months, it started to get to spring and you start saying hello. And anyway, as ever, sometimes you'll see someone and you don't see them, and then you say, oh, hello there, I haven't seen you for ages. That ends up having a conversation. Then you get to know people, and then you end up walking around the town centre. And one of the things that Purvy always says is, we can walk into Crawley, into the town centre, people say, hello.
Yeah.
I say, well, who are they? Jim or Walk? So actually, what I found is that the exercise has almost been, it's led to other things that I never expected. So there's friendships I've built up to. There's people who might join me on my walk, and they may do part of it. We'll catch up. So on a social level, it's actually been really useful.
Yeah.
So if I'd done a different route every single day, which I could,
Of course,
I wouldn't have had that. Yeah. So in a funny old way, I've ended up creating a social life out of something that could be seen as extremely boring.
But it's depends on the individual. Like, some people hate the idea of going for a walk. We've dealt with them. I don't want to do my steps. But if you enjoy it, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Go back to the bit. So for anyone who doesn't find walking interesting, I can probably guarantee that when you started, it won't.
Yeah.
But it's what you do.
Yeah.
So I podcasts. I love football, and I'm probably going to offend a lot of people because I support Newcastle United. Newcastle United as a team, they've gone through big ups and big downs. But I love listening to the podcasts. I've learnt loads about football.
Yeah.
But I also listen to other podcasts. Some of them are training ones. Some of them are high performance podcasts that are there. So there's lots of different things you listen to. But anyway, you do that, but that's just a mechanism that's suddenly become a way of meeting people. Yeah. And I think that's the bit that I didn't expect out of the exercise. It's been something that just came along. Yeah.
Happy coincidence.
And it is. And, I'm sure you must do the same thing when you go to the gym and you met people and they are just acquaintances. Acquaintances become people you talk to more often, and then they become friends.
Yeah, it's a bit of a community. Like the gym I went to, because obviously I left the same gym a little bit before you did, probably not even under kind of for multiple circumstances, but it kind of left me without the community and the friends that I had made for so long. And so I found myself going to a whole new gym. I didn't know anybody there. And normally, I'd thrive off of having a community and friendly faces. And for the first few months at this gym, I was just on my own, in my own head, very kind of isolated. And because my life had basically just done like a full 180 out of nowhere, and I wasn't expecting it. So, but as you say, over time, people start to kind of give you the nod and start to see you a little bit more often, and then before you know it, you create this whole new community that just makes you feel better. But it's the initial starting of it was horrendous, in the same way that it might have been for your walks initially. Kind of the whole getting going and doing it, and becomes a bit. It feels a bit like a chore, and why am I doing this? And then you start to make the acquaintances who become friends, and then it goes from a chore to routine, and you actually find yourself enjoying it, which is why I think for the most part I try to train at a similar time. It's not just because I prefer evening sessions, it's actually because the people that are ultimately going to keep me accountable, and the people who, without even realising it, helped me mentally just by being there at the time they were, are there at that time. So that's why I kind of go around the evenings and stuff. So I get what you mean, 100%.
You said just mentally. I think it's about being open-minded.
Yeah.
I think if you close off your mind, you're not going to learn anything. But just accept it is what it is, and see what the opportunity is that you can that comes from it. Sometimes it's not about forcing it. Sometimes it's just about letting it happen. And that's, I guess, has just been the reality of what's happened for me.
Yeah, and starting off with with small manageable steps. Like when I first met you, we would not have said when I first met you, Mike, let's go do a Tough Mudder tomorrow.
No,
because you didn't know, you didn't trust me.
No.
You would just start on your journey. It would be quite overwhelming, quite scary. But you can build up slowly, and you can start to enjoy what you're doing. And then when you enjoy it, it's the weirdest thing. When you enjoy it, you want to set challenges in that particular field just to see what you're capable of.
Yeah.
But if you set those challenges too early and you go into it thinking you're going to take on the whole world from day one, that's when the reality can kind of come tumbling down. It can be quite scary. Like, oh, I've actually got to do this now and I don't feel ready. But if you just allow yourself the time with no pressure and just do what you enjoy doing, want to do, without any pressure and any like time stress, you'll always get to where you want to get to. It might just take a little bit longer than you initially would have hoped for. But as long as you're taking it mini goal at a time, you're always going to get there.
I think that's been the difference this time. You know, recovering from an injury, I would normally be the one that would just throw myself at it. This time, I think you've been really strict about this is the weight. It's not about the weight, it's about the repetitions. And start with the low repetitions, build up. And we've probably taken, 5-6 weeks? So it's almost been like a physio stroke rehab plan. Rather than you're going to the gym to go and do, a session. Whereas I would say probably last week was the first time we've probably really pushed it a bit.
Yeah.
And actually what it did show is that actually I can do it. So the body has recovered. Yes, I can feel the difference between my left shoulder where I did the injury and my right. And I can, it's really noticeable. This one's stronger. This one isn't, but it'll get there. And it's just, don't push it.
Yeah. And going back earlier to what you said, Nick, as well about your, because I remember it, of course, and Mike will remember bits of it as well, but I just want to dive into it a little bit deeper because I felt the exact same way. When you abruptly left the place that we used to work at, and you said you lost that community, you lost that support network, and you kind of maybe lost your sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Talk me through it. How did it feel?
I mean, obviously I left there and I was going into a different kind of career role and everything. And then that took a bit of a hit as well. So basically within, I'd say from end of December not last year, the year before, when I left, around the time I left, within about a 3-month period, there was a lot that happened. I lost an awful lot. There were all sorts of different issues in terms of that. I lost the communities. Suddenly, people that I thought I considered family, from friends and family, had basically just disappeared out of my life. There were people who said they keep in touch and they wouldn't. My life took a whole 180, and I think I felt very isolated and alone. And I think a sign with what I'm doing now, I've developed a whole new mindset through that and through the people that I've met doing what I do now. But when I first left and stuff, I was I don't want to say emotionally immature, but I was emotionally immature in the sense that I responded emotionally, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to juggle it, and so rather than think about it from a logical and well thought out process, I just kind of reacted.
Mm.
And by doing that, I kind of developed this whole kind of the world's against me mentality. And it actually was really negative. And so the people that were still around me, admittedly, I lost a lot of people, but the people who were still around me was then starting to get affected by it, which in turn made me lose more people. So it was a tough one, but I think I needed to change my mindset in terms of how I approach things for me to be able to deal with that. So the community was a huge help, and getting myself, because I shut down, I isolated for quite a few months, and I'm still in a way trying to get back into the world now and try and get out there and socialize, because I actually don't now. But I used to have that very kind of emotional immaturity. But the sign of me maturing now is through what I do now and through the people I've met. I developed a mindset which is the CIA mindset. So it's called control, influence, and accept. So you're faced with a situation and you say to yourself, what can I control in this situation? And you kind of work out what you can and what you can't. Okay, of that, what can I influence? Can I influence this to be better? Can I influence this to be worse? If you can't do either of those, you just accept it. You accept that it's out of your control and there's nothing you can influence to make the situation better. And by doing that and by applying that to literally everything I do, I now no longer respond emotionally for most things. Don't get me wrong, I still put emotion into it because I'm a human. But it means when I'm faced with very difficult situations, rather than just panic and react to it, I just apply the CIA mindset, and that's it. That's now I deal with things. And I would say for the most part, it's helped me tenfold because it's prevented me from making rash decisions. So yeah,
Wow.
emotional maturity. I never thought I'd get it, and now here I am. But yeah, I think thinking back to that time, it was probably one of the toughest times of my life because I was just so isolated. But in many ways, and I think the people that were not, I wouldn't say responsible, because I will accept responsibility for the way things played out, were ultimately because of the way that I was and the way that I acted because of my immaturity. But I think if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have developed this new way of dealing with things. And I think ultimately that would have left me in a very immature position, because I think you can't grow and you can't succeed until you've learnt and failed. And if you don't fail at something, you never think anything's wrong, which means you then never start to look at yourself within and start to think, well, what am I doing wrong? And if you go your life without somebody pulling you out or calling you out on your mistakes and stuff, you'll never grow, you'll never adapt, you'll never develop. And I think you need to have some tough times to appreciate good times. And I think you need to fuck up to succeed. And sadly, you are going to lose people doing that. Sadly, you are going to find times where you're in your flat, alone, with your cat, crying into your hoodie, thinking, where did my life go wrong? But without those moments, you won't have those sudden epiphanies of, right, well, it's either sink or swim now. I either got to get up off my arse and do something, or this is me for the rest of my life now. So, if you had asked me this 6, 7 months ago, I would have been probably still in the same mindset. But looking back at it now, I'm actually grateful for it, because it's made me the person I am today. It's made me more understanding of other people and how other people react to the actions we take. Um, yeah, a lot of learning from it, but I sadly had to go for a bit of a shit period to learn from that. But it is what it is. Yeah.
It's so true. If you're not prepared to fail, you're not prepared to learn.
Yeah.
And it's an awful thing that I know it's a cliche that people say it, but it's those times when you're probably under the most stress.
Yeah.
Is the time when you probably learn most about yourself.
Yeah.
And probably in your case, you probably learn who your real friends are, who's going to tough it out, who's going to be supportive, but equally call it out for you.
Definitely. I think, yeah, for sure. I think the ultimate learning from it was there are people in my life that will have my back. And sadly, there are people in my life that when the going gets tough, they left. But again, I needed that to then not be careful around people, but I needed that to understand that unless I can be good with myself and good on my own, then if you put all your reliance into people around you and then they suddenly disappear, you're screwed.
Yeah.
It's important to have a supportive community, don't get me wrong, but unless you can support yourself, you are going to suffer.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it happening because within like 4 weeks of it happening to you, I had also
Yeah.
gone,
Yeah.
and I felt a lot of anger around it. And Mike, you'll remember this as well because you've been there the whole time. And even now, I still hold resentment about it, which I shouldn't do. And this is something I need to learn to not hold on to things for so long. But at the time, like that is rightly or wrongly, sadly, that had become my entire life. Helping people in that place had become my entire life. And the people that I thought I went to work and had a laugh with and got on with, I thought they were my friends. So it's a learning curve for me of like who you can and can't trust, but also I like to share good news with everyone. I've always been that way. I can't keep secrets. Like me and Lucy make a joke, like, I can never have an affair on you, A, because I love you, but also because I tell you straight away. It's a really bad joke.
Yeah.
I can't keep secrets. So I had obviously told people I was excited about doing what I'm doing, which was stupid looking back at it, but I was excited. And anyway, long story short, basically I had left abruptly, but my whole sense had disappeared. I knew what I wanted to do. It was scary because I suddenly went from a secure job to nothing. And if it didn't work, I was going to lose my flat, lose my fiance, like terrible. And I just felt really broken for a good couple of months, probably until the summer. So it happened in February, probably until June, July. I just felt broken. And I was getting ready to go to work that same day when they rang me saying, you can't come into where you work. And I just was really just crying, because I wanted to leave, but I didn't have the guts to do it. So looking back at it, if they hadn't done that to me, I probably would still be there now. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, which is great. But at the time, it was horrible. Like your whole world just comes shattering down.
It's very abrupt. Like you said, like both of us at some point wanted to leave. But you almost want to leave completely on your terms. Whereas I left I kind of left on a divided state of terms. I left ultimately, it was my decision to leave, but I was almost presented with a decision to, like that kind of leaving was ultimately the best choice of the two. But yeah, I think there's a really, really good video that I saw on, I think it was Instagram, just on one of my doom scrolling sessions. But it's a video and it's like what healing actually looks like. And it's this glass of like, I think it's a brown liquid. They put the glass is full, but they put it under a running tap. And you watch it for about 30 seconds. But you can see the water start to slowly dilute into clear water. And that's really, really that's ultimately how healing is. It's really shit from the start. And it will still hurt years and years later. But gradually over time, things get better. Because like you said, when it first happened, I had a very angry outlook at the world and stuff. But now after kind of looking back at it and thinking about it and having my life move forward and stuff, and thinking about you and some of the other people from it as well, and you're saying how the place is doing, it's upgraded and it's doing better. And ultimately, looking back at it, it was a horrible situation. But now everybody involved is in a better place.
Yeah.
Everybody's done better. The place is doing better. We're doing better. Ultimately, as awful as it was, for all of us to move forward and grow, that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And while I could look back at it with resentment, I'm now just glad that everybody came out of it for the most part okay and arguably better. And that's how I look at it now. And by doing that, I no longer have the hatred for it. I'm no longer angry. I understand it needed to happen. Sucked that it happened. But we all came out of the end of it in a better place.
Yeah.
It's that ability to be able to almost detach yourself from it and almost get yourself into a helicopter and just take yourself up and then look down on what's going on. Because sometimes I think you're so in the moment, you're just living it. You can't quite see what's happening. Yeah. It's happening around you, but actually it's only when you do step back that you can see, you get perspective. And sometimes you can only do that after the event. It'd be great to be able to do it before the event or during the event, and sometimes it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But that, if you've got that skill, it's such a good one to have. Because you talk about healing. It's that bit, particularly with the mind, being able to get perspective on things is the biggest way to heal.
I think that's where this support and bringing this back into kind of coaching and support networks and walks and training, all of those massively help it. You go out for walks, you go to the gym to clear your mind, you go to get rid of the stress, get rid of the anger, it's a good opportunity for you to think and reflect. And having a support network or having coaches or a mate, just somebody that is almost that bird's eye view of your life. Because when things happen to you, whether you're stressed about an injury, stressed from a situation that's happened to you in life, stressed about weight loss, it's the me show. And rightfully so, because it's your life. But there's so much going on around you that you get tunnel visioned. And by having a support network, a coach, a friend, just something that can be that kind of that bird's eye view and be like, and kind of just pull you out of that tunnel vision and give you perspective from an outside view, ultimately helps massively. Because otherwise, with that tunnel vision, you forget about external factors. So when people come to us for weight loss, they come to us for injury recovery, they're so fixated on one thing. And if that one thing's negative and they focus on the negativity, they develop a defeatist mindset, and then they've given up before they even start. Whereas if you have a support network, a coach, a friend, somebody that can be like, look at the positives, look at everything around the problem, suddenly their mindset goes from it's a negative situation, negative mindset, it becomes a negative situation, positive mindset. And that's where you ultimately get progress. Yeah. That's where you achieve goals. That's where you pull yourself out of that rut. And, annoyingly, you'd like to think you can do it all on your own. But the reason humans can communicate and the reason that we have emotions is because we need to rely on people around us. We need a community. We need each other to help us get through things.
Yeah.
Problems can't be solved on your own.
That's so true.
God, yeah.
It can be very complicated, but I think ultimately sometimes that's where coaches can bring the simplicity to things.
Yeah.
So it's that ability to ask the questions, because the only person who can solve a problem if you've got it is you.
Yeah.
But it's the person who asks the questions, that it's the sophistication of the question that makes you or encourages you just to stop for a moment and just take that moment of internal reflection.
Yeah.
Because once you make the decision, nothing will stop you.
I think that's why I prefer the term coaching. To go back to a couple of podcasts ago, you said, what's the difference between a trainer and a coach? When I was a trainer, I had the mindset that it was all fitness related. I'm going to beast you for an hour. Yeah. We're going to talk about your calories. But now I'm a coach and I'm not present in the gym. Arguably, I couldn't give a shit about the exercise. It's what else can I do to get this person to where they need to be? What else can I do to help this person? And so I never tell people that I'm an online trainer. I tell them I'm an online coach. And when they go, oh, is that fitness related? I'm like, it is, but it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
I'm there to coach you. I'm there to ask you those questions. I'm there to keep you accountable. I'm there to support you. And yes, I'll give you your calories. Yes, I'll give you your exercises. And yes, I'll tell you to do your steps and drink your water. But I'll also be there to give you a very unbiased and outside perspective of things that are happening in your life. I'll call you out. If you're responsible for them, I'll tell you you're responsible for them. But if there's things that you've done or things that have happened that are out of your control and you're fixating on them, I'll tell you to not stress about it. I'll tell you not to fixate on it. I have clients that do check-ins. They go out for meals and they fixate on the fact that they've gone out for the meal. Yeah. And they don't realise everything else they've done is awesome. So then you're like, you're almost apologising to me for living your life, when in actuality, you've done what I've told you to do. You've enjoyed yourself, but you've implemented the things that you've needed to. And you've said to me, you feel better and you're performing better. But you're fixated on the fact that you went and had a 1,500 calorie pizza or something.
Yeah.
And it's about just, it's being, like you say, it goes back to being cruel to be kind. Sometimes you've got to be a bit harsh to people to drag them out of that mindset.
I mean, the truth of that is the truth of it, isn't it? Because ultimately, you don't go. You go to the gym because you want to get fitter, don't you?
Yeah.
But in reality, this is all about being healthy. It's about a lifestyle choice, isn't it? It's not about I've decided to go on a calorie control diet.
No.
It's not because I've decided I want to, be able to lift huge amounts of weight. My decision is I want to live longer.
Yeah.
That's a lifestyle
Yeah.
choice. What I've got is bits that are helping me to achieve that.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation about the guilt of going out.
Yes.
I enjoy food.
Yeah.
It's one of the advantages. I live close to London. I can go up. I do like a drink.
Yeah.
But actually, it's all things in moderation, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the thing I've probably has been my biggest takeout. Yes, I've got a control on the amount of calories that I eat, but I went to a place called Bang Bang Oriental. It's in North London.
Nice.
Wonderful Chinese food, probably the most authentic Chinese food I've had in this country.
Really?
Yeah, the meal was probably about 1,400 calories.
Worth it.
Worth it. Yeah, that sounds it.
But the point was, have a breakfast, walked around London, had a meal to eat, walked out, did a walk afterwards, had a drink when I got home.
Yeah.
Still, I think overall, I had something like 1,600 calories on the day, but had a fantastic day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the point. It's not about letting it control your life.
Nope.
It's about an awareness that I am trying to live within something.
Yeah.
But if I go a bit over
It's okay.
one day, or I'll go a bit under on another day,
Yeah.
broadly over the 7 days, I'm there or thereabouts.
And that day that you didn't go and do that, while you could sit there and argue, oh, well, it doesn't help you towards your goal physically, mentally, you could argue it did wonders for you.
Oh,
you know,
too right.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
I get to the end of a set of 6 shifts and I just order a Domino's.
Yeah.
Now, is that ideal? No.
No.
But do I need that? Do I need that large pizza and that garlic and herb dip and just to sit and watch Netflix in my fluffy hoodie
Yeah.
and just have that moment? Yeah, 100%.
It's a really
Yeah.
interesting thing. So when I started with you, I was 110 kilos.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you were.
I'm down to 102 kilos, still
Awesome
heavier than I
stuff.
want to be. I tell you what, getting from 102 kilos down to 100 has been the hardest thing. And we've talked
Yeah.
about this.
Plateau.
I was on, we've gone on to high calories. We've gone on to calories with a lot more exercise.
Yeah.
We've now gone to a bit where it's more bit control
Yeah.
on calories. At the moment, it's still sitting. I
Yeah.
sit 102, 102.3, maybe go down to 101.5. At some point, we're going to find something
Yeah.
that's going to be there
The
will
right-
be a key that's
Yeah,
going to unlock it. It's just we haven't found it for
Yeah.
me yet. And I know that I don't burn the calories that I used to 20 years ago. I could have eaten loads more and I would have just burned it off. It's not the case anymore. And I have to, that's what my body is.
Yeah.
But we will find it. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that I probably take out of this is that it's just, we haven't found the right key
Yeah.
yet. And we're just going to have
Yeah.
to be persistent.
Perseverance with it.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. You've got perseverance one, and you're resilient as well. Most people get frustrated and go, "It's not working," and we've had it as well. It's not working. I've lost like this much. I want to lose this much. And I'm gonna stop. But then all you're doing is you're letting that fear of failure rule your life. Like you are gonna have plateaus, and there are gonna be moments where you feel like you are failing. That's absolutely fine. You can't go throughout life without making a mistake. Like even with what we do, I've made mistakes in the past. Like I might have something ridiculous. I might have put like the wrong emoji and someone's read it on WhatsApp a bit wrong and got a bit cross. Like it happens, but you can learn, and it's gonna when you get to your goal, that's why you're gonna be able to maintain because you've learned all those things along the way. Like no one put on weight in a day, although we like to think it, and like it's because the putting on weight is more fun. If you tell me I can eat 20 Ben and Jerry's tubs in a day, it's more fun, isn't it, than saying I can't have it. But there's got to be a balance somewhere.
Yeah, I think but you've got to be honest with yourself,
Yeah.
haven't you? There's 3 things: trust, honesty, and respect.
Yeah.
Do we have a trust? And do I trust myself in terms of what I'm doing? Am I honest with myself about what I'm doing? So when I take those, photograph of a plate of food, and you say,
Is that really?
yeah. So am I actually honestly putting in the app what I am actually eating? And if not, I'm not showing you respect, and I'm not showing myself that respect either. And I think that there are probably 3 words that probably mean a lot to me. but you base your life on. And if you can't be honest with yourself, you're never going to get anywhere, are you? That's the
Very
truth
true.
of it. And it's as long as I'm honest with you,
Yeah.
you've got a fighting chance of helping me to
Yeah.
get below this 100.
Exactly.
It feels
Yeah.
like it's a magic thing that sort of it's out there. I just can't quite get to it
Yeah.
right here, right now.
Yeah.
But my belief is,
You will get there.
in fact, it's not a belief. I know I will.
Yeah. And not only will you get there, there's always a self-belief barrier. Like you said, it feels like it's far away, but it's not as far as you think it is. It will just happen. It's just that consistency now. And this is the really hard bit. It's because we've seen like the hit measurement come down this week. Like we've seen measurements starting to come down, but it's that thing of if we can just keep going, we're so close to being there. But it's just when you're that close, sometimes you can get frustrated and go, not you, but personally people get frustrated and go, oh well, now I'm going to have this, and then it's like, no, we were so close.
It's that bit of it would be so easy to get to 100 by just not drinking. You know what I mean?
But-
It's that bit of, on a Monday morning, you're going to get towards the weigh-in. Okay, so I'm not going to drink before I go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really careful about what I have before I get on the scales.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I've done it. But in reality, who am I fooling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is fooling myself.
Yeah.
In reality, however frustrating it sometimes may feel,
Yeah.
if I am not honest with you,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get there.
Nope.
And I have thought about doing that, so I'm not going to say that I haven't, because I have. And I think it's probably true. The times when I've got nearer the 101.2s and 3s are probably the days where I didn't have a very big breakfast. But hey,
Yeah, it happens. But the thing is, the main thing you could take away from any of this is just be kinder to yourself. Like, if you have a meal out, it's fine. We want you we want you to enjoy your life. We're just trying to teach you how to do it in a way that you can get to your goal and can stay there for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, I still eat pizza. I go out to drink. I went to Cheltenham for the weekend, had a whole weekend of drinking. I'm still hungover now. Like, it's fine. But people are conditioned from everything they've seen on like Instagram or TV or wherever, like, or Slimming World or whatever other fad company. Like, you must restrict to get to your goal. You must do this. You mustn't do that. And actually, it's all rubbish. It's all bullshit. There is not a one-fits-all approach. That's why we have jobs as coaches. If it was a one-fits-all approach, then you wouldn't need us.
just got to accept. If I look back, with you, I've lost 8 kilos.
Yeah.
I'm just struggling to get beyond the 2. But what I think we both know is
Yeah.
if I can get beyond that hurdle,
Yeah.
get over it, I'll probably drop to 96, 94
Easily.
because we'll have found the key that unlocks it. But
Yeah.
right here, right now, it might be a challenge, but
But we'll always get there.
yeah, we will
We'll always get
there. And I think that's the bit where it'd be very easy to lose that trust. And maybe we've had the benefit of, I've seen you,
Of course.
and it's not at the end, but you're always at the end of a phone.
Yeah.
And, we talk
Yeah,
when
we
I'm
do.
on my walks or
Yeah.
whatever. If there's something that we want to catch up on,
Yeah.
I probably make. I
cool,
do
mate,
because
it's fine.
I pay you to be my coach.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reality.
Yeah, exactly.
So I try to get my money
Yeah,
worth
which is
out
fun.
of you. And
Which is fun.
but that is the reality, isn't it? If it's something you've encouraged me to do,
Yeah.
so and it's what's there, so make use of it.
Exactly. It's the thing, like I say to you all the time, Nick, as I'm training you as well. The more communication you have with a client, the more rapport you build, the more they trust you, the better the results will be.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've given the calorie goal. If they don't like you, they're probably not going to follow what you say. They have to like you, they have to trust you, and they have to know you, which is why we do the weekly check-ins, which is why we give them Loom recordings at the start to introduce who we are. Like we are, and that's why we have the community support and we do the podcast. It's to build that trust. Like we know what we're talking about. But if people don't like you, it's very hard to get them to do what you want them to do. And again, you have to ask the right questions. We never tell people to do anything. I'll never say, Mike, you must do this. I'll just say, Mike, as an example, would you rather do this or do you want to do this? Or tell me what you want to do and we'll make a plan around it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's the job as coaches. Whereas as a PT, I used to think you had to be like the drill sergeant of do this, do that. And actually, if you're just telling people they're not taking any ownership, nothing's going to change.
It's the holistic approach, isn't
Yeah.
it? When you're a coach in a gym or a trainer in a gym, literally you come in, you do some exercises, and if you're not careful, you just that's it, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the interaction.
Yeah.
And you did say if I had a choice, do I stay with you or do I stay at the gym and have a PT there, or do I join you? The difference, and it is true, is it's more holistic as I see it. you have a better insight as to how I live my life, and therefore you can tailor your guidance to me. Both of you have that, and it does make a difference. However much I might argue, okay, it's nice to have someone there beasting you through a gym. Actually, I'm not actually sure that's what my body needs.
No.
But I don't think you realise that necessarily, and that's probably the biggest difference between doing what I'm doing now and what I was doing before. I would say before I was beasting myself, whereas now I've got a more holistic view about how I live my life, what I want to do, and how I feed myself to live that life.
If you can have a better understanding of yourself, then you have a better mindset. And if you can control your mind, you can control your body. And that's it.
Yeah.
That is the truth of it.
It's as simple as that. I mean, I know there's a lot of factors around it that can make it a grey area, but it's ultimately, if you can control your mind, you can control your body. In the same way that if you can enjoy what you do, it's not a chore, you'll do it and you'll get results. And that's what we basically teach people.
Yeah. What a sentence to sum up on. That is a sentence to sum up on. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Lean Life podcast. So our next episode will be out next month. Hope you enjoy it. Just make sure to click us a little subscribe or a like on Instagram as well. And we'll speak to you guys soon.